Hi, this is Maniva with the Gene Keys Transit. So we are talking about Gene Key 2, Gate 2 in quantum human design. That looks like allowing. And in the Gene Keys, the gift is orientation. And so this is the new moon in Taurus. We are in May. All of these things are correspondences. So that's what I love about correspondences because it starts lining things up over cross cultures and histories and so much other information that starts speaking to you in real ways, and especially within the gene keys, they pull in so much, starting with the I Ching and also with quantum, with human design, not quantum human design, but human design, and um, and it just becomes this yummy melting pot of self wisdom and human wisdom so we can better accept and love each other, our fellow humans. We're all trying to do this thing, together, hopefully. If not together, then we just give each other grace while we're trying to slog through it. But that's one of the things that's coming up in this new moon. Okay. So you may be feeling like you should just give up on your dreams, fantasies, is what they may feel more like with so much of the destruction that's happening on a day to day basis in our world. Um, like real hurt, real pain, real conflict is happening right now. So taking this time to recognize that we can't help others if we can only perceive suffering, right? If we are losing energy and not feeling well enough to love and support in the ways that we can, then it's not serving anybody to feel bad for people, right? And I think anybody with a heart is feeling that desire to commiserate in that way. But just remembering that fact can kind of help us get reoriented and back on track with the work that we can do that will make a difference. So, what is yours? What is your orientation? That's a good question as we get into some of the concepts that I really hope that you can take away from this new moon, that you'll allow it to help you discover about yourself. Um, the chapter is called in Richard Rudd's Gene Keys is called Returning to the One. And it's based on the idea that we are all one, right? It's a unity consciousness concept, but it's also kind of a universal or one God concept, because if there's one God, then there can only be one, and all things are one, right? So that it it helps us to kind of again orient to the true nature of what we stand or how we stand or where we stand in life. So I love this. I'm going to take this as a direct quote from the Gene Keys. This is the truth that resides within the feminine principle. It is the binding force for all the seemingly disparate cells and events within existence. And in this sense, it represents the great motherly embrace that pulls us all into a single unity, right? So it's this concept that if everything is connected, and it is, we know that from our understanding of science and physics, right? Then we are all one because everything that each parts of us do influences everybody on the planet, all involved, right? So what happens in this energy? Well, the energy that's available is that we can understand that we are all one, that that we can perceive that we may feel that we're not. That's the two. And then we recognize that if we can perceive that, there must be one, right? It's a long scope, but science has done the long scope work for this, okay? So it's something that we can look at the science of and see with our own eyes how this can be so, right? But I'm not a scientist, so we're going to move on to how it feels, right? So the fear here, how it comes up, it's not a direct fear, but it's is basically the fear of feeling lost in time and space, or dislocated, which is the shadow of dislocation, the gift of orientation, and the city of unity. Okay, so the feeling that we're lost, that we're somehow have lost track of where we're supposed to be, that we can't get back to where we're supposed to be, or we can't get to where we're going, feeling cutting off from resources, cut off from the people around us, cut off from the possibilities or the high or where we're deciding to go, like our goals and what we want out of life, right? So that's kind of what that energy is causing, like in the way that it is can show us. It also means that how it's showing us is going to cause this sense of dislocation, or that we are not one. Why? Because our bodies can't perceive anything different. We are separately perceived by our bodies. The way we can sense things is because we can tell the difference between who we are and how we sense ourselves, and then what's next to us, what that is, and how we sense that, right? So it's the biology itself, how we even understand information, and the information we see and sense in the 3D world is through our physical biology that can only sense difference, separateness, right? So that's why we have to go to our other senses. This is why the sixth sense is so important. But the truth is, we've never left the state of oneness. We are still a part of every atom of every energy that is. And so we are still one. That has never changed. So it's really this feeling that is causing us to become disoriented or dislocated because we are trusting our perceived external senses, how we pick up things that are happening outside of us, instead of recognizing what is already true, or what has always been true, right? So the truth. So it's a fear of taking the wrong turn. It's a fear in humanity. It shows up at the core wound of feeling that we are going to kill off everything, right? We're going to destroy humanity just because we can't make a good choice, right? That's the general feeling. And I feel like that feeling, especially right now, is really strong in the world. Um, and so it's really hard in that perspective to see the unity as true and as available for us. So the work for that is the spiritual work, it's that internal work, or it's that work of recognizing our cues, what is actually telling us, and a lot of the sciences are telling us that this is true, right? So allowing that to reorient us, and in that orientation, everything is available. Now you're connected to everything that you thought you were separated from. And in that perception, we can walk in that way, right? So the programming partner here is one, to that first key, right? And the shadow for that key is entropy. So it's this feeling of taking away from, pulling away from the center, from unity, right? From pulling away, when we're pulling away from that, the feeling becomes that we cannot trust life, right? And so the state of unity is what we're pulling away from. And then that pulling away from that, trusting that we are one and that we are one, that feeling is like fighting basically. Basically, if you're feeling dislocated, it's because you keep questioning things based on that, right? So in that questioning, you start doing actions out of the fear that that is true. So your fear is leading the action. So the fear of something that is not true, that we are separate, is causing you to do actions out of that fear. And that is continuing the feeling of dislocation. And it's just taking you farther and farther from that sense of being able to trust, being able to appreciate, and be supported as well. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as we get into Karen Curry Parker. But yeah, that feeling of escaping. Right? So let me say the quote that I got from Gene, which is the shadow of dislocation comes from trying to escape the feeling of the non-truth of dislocation. So that's not a direct quote, as a paraphrase, but that's essentially what I was taking away is like, yeah, if we stop fighting what is true, then we can work with what is, right? And that to me is what the real alchemist does, the real creatrix is like, okay, no, I understand that to be true. I'm going to orient myself and choose my thoughts and choose my actions based on what is true, not by what I fear and what I don't want, right? So the repressed energy here looks like feeling lost and just don't know where you are in space and time, and like you don't know, you can't make a good choice, so you're not going to make a choice, that kind of feeling. The reactive state in the shadow is regimented. Basically, this can only be true because that's how I orient to this field or this world, right? Also, the I Ching here, the word is kun, they were saying that right, and the translation is field. So, what is the field? The field is our perceived surrounding. Okay, so that is the thing, but the power that lies here is the same power that makes you feel dislocated. Because if you can notice the separation, you can notice the location. And we can use those same sentences to perceive what orients you to truth and unity. So this looks like having aha moments in spiritual work and having those connect the dot moments when you're looking at our sciences and our daily experiences. And when we are noticing what the connections are and how we are connected, how we are one, we have an increased sense of synchronicity. We're noticing that, oh, that's not just an accident. That's like the 10th time today I've seen a 111, a version of that, right? So now we're noticing synchronicity and what is connected and what keeps what keeps showing up to show us we're connected, right? And it becomes a flow in the rhythm of life and of loving what is. We are one with everything, and everything is as it is meant to be. Um, you know, that's a hard one to take, especially again in these hard times. But that's why I love the work that I have been doing and the work that so many others have been doing. We did a podcast. So our podcast is called Verve and Vision. Susie and I did a podcast on the book Loving What Is by Byron Katie. If you haven't read it, I think it's a good place to start and kind of start asking the questions that allow you to perceive a sense of unity. They're tough questions, again, it's a tough time, it's a tough world, they're tough questions, but it'll give you some pointers to back to that orientation. When you are oriented, everything feels easier. There's an easier rhythm in life. There's the easier it's easier to make choices. This is why I love working with astrology, because transits just help me make choices. Like, if it looks like a better time, then I just make that choice. That I let it be easy. Why why argue with, the planets? Why? Why and what for? There's no need to. And we already have signs of synchronicity all around us. So when we start noticing them, we can start orienting to them, and then we'll notice our connection to life and that our support from life with each of those witnesses, that things are connected. We are all perceiving a sense of allowing what is and being oriented to what is, right? And Karen Curry Parker in the Quantum Human Design, she has some great questions for us here. Have you been settling for less? Is the first question. Or rationalizing what you want or need. This is that again, this idea of like, are you noticing that we are a part of the flow of life, that you're already oriented to all there is, everything, including money and all the stuff we are convinced that we want more of? And why does it feel separate from you? Because we are still in a witness of separation, that we are not resourced, that we aren't connected to something that's supporting us. If you need proof, direct proof, right now, we are standing on a planet. It is called the Earth. You have been standing on this planet your whole life. In any case, like it's been supporting you, by the way. Like in order for you to continue to live, the Earth has been had to continue to support you in all its ways, right? It's feeding you, it's keeping you up, not subject to cavernous cavernous gravity, right? You're still here. You're still here. So if you're here, then you are supported. Okay. Have you been settling for less or rationalizing what you need? That's the first question. Second question, are you allowing for the support you deserve? We have a natural value. You have the energy that you came into the world with. If you've been born close to this energy is naturally happening around you. People are naturally perceiving orientation when you were in the room. Are you allowing yourself to perceive that orientation? Are you getting that gift? If not, it's because of how we're oriented, right? So it keeps coming back to this idea, are we allowing ourselves to partake in the beauty that is available, in the connection, in the possibility of that connection? Or are we stuck in the separation and that perception of separation, right? Are you setting your standards high enough? This is something that I asked actually two people today before I went into these questions. Are your standards high enough? Are you expecting what you deserve? Not maybe not deserve, right? But like that you have hold the value of. Again, your energy by itself is doing a lot of work for you. So by minimum, people should be paying you for to be in the room at some level. But that's not how society is set up. And until it is, we get to tell people what we consider our standards to be. And then we can have a conversation about how we get to be in the room together, right? How much good are you willing to receive? Are you allowing yourself to receive more? If you know that you want to make it easy for others and still be able to have, you know, the amount that makes it fulfilling to be you, right? If you know those two things are sometimes don't feel like they are unified, then allow for that the possibilities of both. Don't just cut off the possibility of having more out of a desire to be more accessible. Okay. And in my work, I do a lot of that. So we have a lot of great events coming up, guys. I have an amazing cosmic prosperity strategy that for now is complimentary. It's something that I'm giving to others. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and click on the link. It is for a limited time that this will be absolutely free. So you might as well go ahead and pick it up and see if it interests you, right? We're doing the Art of Gracious Diva later this month. So that's happening. So that's where we get to understand how do we get to orient life around us so that we can do the work we're here to do in the world. What does that look like in actual action steps? And how do I get to think now that I understand that I am innately valuable, which is this work that we're doing right now, right? So that's some good stuff that's coming up. And of course, the podcast, we're doing 15 conscious leadership principles. I believe is the last word. Actually, is I think, yeah, 15 conscious leadership principles. I believe that's what the book is. So that is going to be also a help, right? Because a lot of times you have to lead people into how to perceive us, how to value us, and then also for themselves so that we can be empowering to each other. By the way, that's the channel for Gene Key 2 is the channel of empowerment is connected to gate 14 to 14. That channel is the channel of empowerment in the Gene Keys, right? That is about letting our hearts be our connectors, like, which is just us being alive, right? We are love. In our full unity consciousness, we are love. And so we are loving when we are in that perception, right? So part of being empowered is to recognize who we really are. We are love, right? So there's that. And how much good are you willing to receive? Is another question from Karen Curry Parker. How much good are you willing to receive? So that's a lot about the same thing. Are you willing to receive more good? Do you have access points to receive more good? Right? So the challenge here is, are you loving yourself enough to be in the flow of support, be fully supported in who you are? That's the challenge. Are you allowing yourself to be supported? Are you understanding that you're innately valuable? Optimally, we want to move towards self fulfillment and authentic self and trust. So, self fulfillment, what we want, our desires being fulfilled, okay? Authentic self, being who we are, who we desire to be in the moment without even that, old perceptions feeding back on our how we feel about ourselves or not, right? Like just being who we are for this moment and being okay with that. Trusting ourselves in this moment, trusting others in this moment, right? So that's what the optimal expression of this energy is from Karen Curry Parker. The unbalanced expression is that you're compromising what you want because you don't believe you'll be supported in who you really are, right? Um, that this is a direct quote: to be valiantly self-sufficient to the point of burning yourself out is the unbalanced expression. I know a few people that have to claim that one, to being valiantly self-sufficient to the point of burning yourself out, to never ask for help. Yeah, so if that's happening, then maybe it's time to reorient yourself, okay, to your value and to being supported as much as you desire to support others, okay? Contemplation was something to think about. Do I believe I deserve to be supported? It's a good question, right? All right, and I receive, this is a good affirmation I got from the end of affirmation paragraph from Karen Curry Parker, which is, I receive all that I need because it helps me contribute to all that I am. I'll say it again. I receive all that I need because it helps me be well, I receive all that I need because it helps me contribute to all that I am. I got two in there, and I don't think I want that in there. I'm going to say it one more time. I receive all that I need because it helps me contribute all that I am. Okay? So that's a great affirmation. If it doesn't feel aligned as yet, you know the work. Go find the Omans method is on the channel, or go to one of the vocal videos in order to see that. All the vocal videos start out with the Omans method. And so you want to get that alignment so you know what is not ringing true yet. And then we get oriented through the Omans method and try it again. I receive all that I need because it helps me contribute all that I am. Getting all your energy up in there. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want for affirmations. If they don't feel good yet, then don't use them yet. Okay? Get oriented and then try again. Okay? So, 3 content ideas. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I skipped one. 3 things to receive. So, first, 3 things to receive. Number 1, this is kind of a recap. Receive that you are innately valuable. The energy you came to the world with is already in use. Now, perceive it. Perceive that they're connected. Perceive that people are connected to your gifts and are receiving them right now, whether you're in action or not. Okay. Number two, receive that you are already connected and supported. Receive that the earth is supporting you. Receive that you are connected. That is the truth of our scientific reality, even. So, how can you perceive that truth within your day to day life? Number three, receive all that you need to be all that you are. So, if there's not enough channels that allow you to receive all that you need to be all that you are, create them, make new ones. Okay. All right. So, three content ideas for this wonderful new moon in Taurus. First, why do you think people haven't gotten your valuable product or service as yet? Do you think it's availability? Do you think it's because they don't realize they need it yet? Do you think it's because they don't have the money for it yet? I'll tell you what, most people, when they're ready for something, the teacher appears, right? So for me, what I think, what people start to question when they're finding me and they realize, oh my gosh, you're exactly what I needed, right? Is before they got to that point, they thought their voice was innately flawed, that they couldn't do anything about the fact that nobody understood them, or that they weren't heard well, or that they weren't impactful as a person. They think it's just a personality or just part of who they are, which is just not true, right? We know here in my house that your voice is perfect, right? Your voice is perfect. So the question is, what are we allowing? What are we allowing, and how do we allow our voices to come forward in an authentic and memorable way? What are we doing that is not in agreement with that perceived reality? Because that's the reality. The reality is there's nothing wrong, right? The reality is your voice is perfect. So what is it doing? What is it healing? What is it ready for? And how do we bring it into alignment with all of ourselves? First, we got to be in alignment, right? So that's a lot of the work, right? The next one, number two. So that's what you want to say. You want your content to say or remind people of that, whatever that is, that clarity that comes in. Sorry, the kids are playing outside if you're hearing that. Whatever you believe that people are missing, that don't realize they need what you have. Okay. So the second one, what about your product or service allows more ease and flow? What makes their life easier about being in the witness of your product and service, right? So for me, that it makes life easier because you're tapping into your natural magnetism. You don't have to give up all your energy to show up strongly and brightly. You can just be you and let your authentic, you're already energetic magnet. There's already something that attracts people to you. So tuning into that, just tuning that in and resonating it amplifies it. And then people find you, they remember you. You're more memorable, even if you can't speak super well, like me. Like sometimes I just forget words and all that stuff, and people remember me anyways, right? They actually remember a lot of the wise things that I say, even though I can't remember them myself half the time because I'm just perceiving what's in the room and speaking from there, right? So that is one of those things. Like, what about your service and product helps people's lives be easier? Yeah, like my people are not trying to do even more work as an entrepreneur. Like it's hard enough, right? So what they're looking for is a way to be authentic and memorable, so that they don't have to keep putting themselves out there and using so much of that energy instead of using it to help people and serve people as they desire, which is why they're in business, right? Okay, so that three, so that's the second content piece. What about your work that allows more ease and flow? Then three, where are people compromising that they deserve better? In other words, obviously your product or service will make their life better, right? Where do you see them tolerating the fact that their life isn't as good as it could be with that product or service, right? Again, for me, that's just that innate picture. Well, I am shy, I am introverted, I am whatever, so I can't be memorable, I can't be impactful, I can't be heard, right? So I help people understand that they deserve to be heard, to be recognized, and to be appreciated, right? So that's what I'm trying to do over here. Like, what are you doing? What are they compromising on that you know they don't have to compromise on? Okay. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. These are our new moon. So we have these for the next 2 weeks. It's a good place to keep pulling from. If you forgot an idea, like I have a list of things I could slot into these questions, right? So maybe you can make 10 pieces of content out of these 3 questions, right? So yeah, that programming partner is bringing that freshness. So is like working with that orientation, saying, okay, when it's bringing things to you, when you're living in that orientation, when you know that you're part of the whole, it's giving you newness, it's giving you freshness. That is the gift that comes in from the programming partner. And the channel completion, again, is empowerment. So if you're about empowering people, this is your energy, right? This is that availability, the competence that comes in with the gift here from channel completion. Key 14 is the shadow of compromise, the gift of competence, and the city of bounteousness, right? So what that means is essentially that you're helping people to be in this now moment more competent. We are helping people to, in this now moment, be resourced. So not, again, I have to go get some resources for you to feel resourced. You're already connected to all the resources. How can we recognize that? Right? So that's available. That's available. How do we help them recognize that they're already connected to you as a resource for your product and service? How are you empowering people just by letting them know it's available? And that's why it's one of my favorite messages. Your voice is perfect because even if you never pay for a single product from me, that is something you should be empowered by. Okay. So what is that? You might have a whole catchphrase that you can add into your branding and company, right? From that concept alone. Anyways, I hope something here has helped you today. I give you blessings for this month and this time. I know it's a hard coming by. I appreciate you being here. And if I don't see you in chat on YouTube, then I'd love to see you at one of my events. Check my links in the comments.